How's it going, everyone? My name is Min, and today I'm just gonna provide like a really quick breakdown on how today's trading went and what could have actually been considered as the best trades of the day. So we got some really nice moves, basically aside from the NASDAQ moving to the upside and to the downside. We had some stocks on the side, for example, Palantir, Nvidia, and then Donald Trump's media stock. Donald Trump's media stock basically took a dip just because of sentimental reasons. Him getting assassinated is definitely not a bullish outlook, and basically with all of that news and that pump that happened basically with the DJT is what the ticker symbol is. It wasn't really like real. So, taking a short on that would have been, without a doubt, a good game plan. As for today, so aside from that, with the news from that, unfortunate, it's pretty sad, a sad reality that people have to kill each other to satisfy their needs and stuff, right? So, but we're in it for the game of having to make some money, every single day, trading, and not to stress about those other things, right? And, not to also be inconsiderate of those things either, but um, what can we do, right? But yeah, as for today, basically with the trend, especially from 9:30, we had around a 9:30 here. We had a nice consolidation from overnight session. Really nice, strong consolidation from overnight session. You can definitely see HFTs right there. You could have easily gone long off of the 621s to the 630s and then constantly scalp a lot of positions in this move. Just because of how strong the move was, you can definitely see that there was really high frequency trading here and a lot of algorithms basically taking control. This is definitely algorithm right there. This is all algorithm uh, into play basically with this kind of day. But even with this overnight session of being like that, it doesn't necessarily mean that the open market session is gonna do the same thing. Just around like the 7 o'clock, 7 a.m., they basically turned off the algorithm, stopped with the accumulation, and then resumed the regular market trading hours and the market trading trends. And today was really really nice. Unfortunately, Trade was actually closed just because of their market data issues. But I'm gonna try my best to basically explain what happened with today. Even though I didn't really get the opportunity to take that many trades, I only took some trades from the overnight session, and I basically took long on the upside here, and I'll probably explain why. So from the previous day on Monday, today is actually Monday, so I meant to say on Sunday, on Friday, and then Sunday night. On Friday, we had I've already explained this in my previous video, so I don't really want to explain too much in it or provide like an in-depth video of this, but I'll just explain it so that we can simplify the understanding behind it. So from the yesterday or on Friday, we had a print of the low, print of the high, and then basically a print of the market open low. And that was like basically the three reference points that we would play and continue into the next day. So we're done with that day. All right. Then on the next day, we actually had a 6 p.m. This was the overnight session. 6 p.m. opened up. We got the high at that time. This really nice strong pivot to the downside. And then that kind of just gave us a reference when it started turning around off of the support right here. That was going to be the low of the night, and this was going to be the high of the night. And those were going to be really important factors on how the next trading day was going to be. So from 6 p.m., we had a nice strong sell from the top from the morning, or from 6 p.m. and from 2590s all the way down to 2508s, which is about 80 points. That's pretty rare in my opinion. We don't really get moves like that very often, so it's crazy to actually see that, especially in overnight session in such a short time frame. So we know that for a fact there was a lot of volume being played through in this specific session, and usually there's only about like 5 points every minute, sometimes even three. But this time we were getting like 10-point moves and such on the overnight session, and it was pushing to the upside. So as we actually got that nice pivot here, Well, I use that as a reference as the top, and then the overnight session I use this as a reference of the low. And the reason why I use this as a reference of the low is because we had a nice strong bounce off of that, and then on top of that we actually retraced the one of the other sell-offs from 6:13 p.m. here, and then also 6:06 p.m. So that's why I use that as a low. And then, for example, if it actually gets back to that price on that support around 508s, I would actually consider buying, just because we had a nice strong spike there. But from the entire overnight session, we kind of just retraced the high of the overnight session, which was pretty obvious from watching the trend create higher lows and higher highs. So basically, we were printing right here a low, a higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, because we're technically still going in an uptrend. Higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, and we just continued following that kind of pattern throughout the night. Then around the 2580.75s, we try to use this as a resistance to basically sell it back off to the lows of 2510s, but that never happened. We ended up bouncing off of 2561.25s, which is from the open market session of Friday, the around 4 p.m. That's where we were showing that there was a nice resistance at that level, and when we broke above that, we used that as a prior support. But the important matter is what's the strongest low and what's the strongest high, and those are the two things that I care about the most, especially when I'm trading the NASDAQ, or if I'm even trading SPY. If I'm trading any large caps, this actually works and applies for stocks, options, you name it. It basically applies for everything. So moving forward, we actually broke above the high, and as you can see, we kept on moving much higher from 590s to 630s, and then we're going towards the next resistance here, which is this previous support and resistance level, and this little pivot area. So that was going to be used as a reference later on. We pushed higher, kept on trading sideways, a lot of chop, and then we pushed to that support right there, or that resistance that we saw before, 2647.25s, and as you can see, it rejected right off of that pivot area. We came back down, came back up, came back down, came back up, came back down. Long story short, we came back down to the overnight session high. So the overnight session high at that time was around here, 6 p.m. It was used as a reference on open. We can actually use this as the next reference of open now, basically for the day coming. So this right here was basically indicating a way to consider a play for the open market session, and then this right here is considered as also another additional play for the open market session. So once we actually created a new high during pre-market, we want to actually cross that out the list, because we saw strong selling here, and with this strong selling, we actually made a lower low, a lower high, a lower low, a lower high, lower low. So the reason why we use that as a reference point is because we were able to see consecutive lower highs and lower lows, right, in this specific trend. So now that we have two references, we have this as a reference of the high of the market, and we'll use this as like a breakout level. This will be the previous breakout level of the overnight session. It'll be used as a really good reference for the open market session. So as we pushed higher here, we came down. As you can see, there was a slight support level here because we were getting a lot of buyers around this range. So getting in long here would have actually made sense. We pushed higher. We broke right above that resistance. We created a new high here on the open market session around 9:30. From 9:30 to 4 p.m. is the open market session. After that, we had a nice big sell-off. It touched that support from the overnight high at that time around 6 p.m. So that was the reference level. And a lot of the times when we get into these specific kind of trades, you always want to wait for these specific levels. You don't want it to be chasing the trend on the way up right here, expecting it to break much higher. Sometimes it won't. So sometimes you might get faked out. You might try to go long right here at 630s. It pushes up to 641s. You want to hold it a little bit longer, and then it comes back down, reverses, and then hits your stop loss. So for me, I like to scalp between 5 to 15 points at a time, and I keep my profits very short. And usually, for example, if I were to get into an entry right here at around 26.18s, I'd get out around 26.35s as my target price, right? Just because that's all I'm comfortable with, and that's the only profit that I need at the time. But yeah, after we broke above it, we had a strong seller from 657 all the way down to 613. That's about 40 points in 1 minute, which would definitely crush you. And yeah, we had a nice sell off to this point. As you can see, there was a couple buyers on this specific candle. As you can see, there's an indecision doji. We had some sellers try to push it back down, and then this was actually technically a formed support. So we know that if it actually tried to break below and it could not break below and it came back up, this would be a good long entry. I would have gone in long right here at 92.50s and then potentially came out with 610s and perhaps even more. And then after we bounced off that overnight high at 6 p.m., we just kind of just started breaking out to the highs. We used the previous high of the overnight session around 733 as a support, and then we just kept pushing higher and higher and higher. There was some volume going, like some issues with the volume right here, so I don't exactly know what went wrong, but basically it kind of started like chopping a little bit more around this price range from 655s to 800s. So this one was a little bit more of like a hard kind of setup because like there were more wicks in the trend than usual, and it wasn't really showing signs of proper support or proper resistance. So you know that this was definitely heavily manipulated right here. This was a manipulated part. After it got to this value around 800s, I don't know exactly where 800s was, but if we actually look back, we'll be able to tell in shortly here. So yeah, there was realistically from this date on, but then again, that doesn't really prove as a useful reference because it's not considered as like a high of the current market. And I would have preferred using this as a reference level 983. This one right here is more of like a rejection off of no specific reason, to be real with you. Even on the 1 minute, let's take a look. Actually look back, yeah, there was no specific reason for that rejection in my opinion. I did take a long at this price at one point though, like a while back. I actually did take a long right at this exact location, expecting it to reverse, but it never did. So maybe that's why, but I don't see a reason why this would be like a really good reference level for that kind of trade anyways. Yeah, like right over here specifically. Yeah, there's no real specific level for this high. So yeah, I guess yeah, no real specific level for this 800 level, other than the previous like high from like from a week ago. And then we had a nice strong seller. Basically, this one right here would have been a nice bull trap. You would have tried to get in long here, and you would probably just absolutely crush. I would say this is more like an accumulation and distribution kind of concept, especially when a trend is constantly moving higher and higher and higher and higher, and then not actually developing a thing called a base. So, for example, if we actually started going sideways a little bit longer here, we would actually develop a thing called a base, and this one right here would be a reference level as a support for later on. But in this specific trend, we never developed a base at all. It just kept on pushing higher. It tried to develop a base, but there's an exhaustion of buyers when it got to the highest price here around 20,800. And then when sellers decided to take over, that's when the bulls basically just let loose, and there was no proper supports to keep that structure high. This one right here, as you can see, there's a nice bounce. This one might have been a little bit like probably would have been the best, and then over here would have been the best supports available. But overall, like there was no real fundamental area to take a long off of. So this one would have been short the trend kind of day. And then eventually, we'll get to the low of the day again. We got back to that support level from the overnight session at 6 p.m. We had two nice bounces here, which was perfect scalps, 50 points each, and that's $1,000 per contract right there, and about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes each. Just over here, we actually broke below the structure, and then it looked like we were about to sell off and probably go towards 20,508. As you can see, we tried to push below that, could not push below that, and then basically some of the bears got trapped at this price around 569s. We pushed back above it. There's no specific target price. This one could have been the target price at 2646.75s. But when that didn't happen, we just ended up selling off, and then we tried to push it back up to that level, and then we got another sell off, and then we eventually printed the low of 20,508, which was the overnight low session of the overnight low session at that time. So as you can see, it's very important to follow the support and resistance concepts, and sometimes also follow breakout levels as well. For example, you'll be able to draw a trend line from here to here. That would have been a nice breakout just around here, but you would have got hit with your stop loss. So that's why you got to be a little bit more patient with, especially with large sell trends like this, and you want to be more have like a better idea of like where the breakout is and where the strongest pivot is. So this one right here would be the strongest pivot just because it broke over. This is the higher high, and then basically this is basically telling you that it wants to be a bull trend from this price, but we actually had strong sellers come through, which is why it failed, right? So this one was a higher high. This could have easily pushed right here and ran towards 20,680 85s, but we failed that. So then you would use that as a reference for the breakout. And then when you take long at this point at 20,579, you would have been able to take out from the 80s down to the 20s here, so about 40 points, and capture about an $800 move with one contract in about 10 minutes. It sold off. We retested that support, and then yeah, end of day. That's basically how it went.
Order rejected.
So right now there's probably issues with like trade evade. So better not to look into that at the time. They said that they would fix it, and yeah. So if anybody ever has any other questions with regards to uh, the trend itself, and you feel like it was a very complicated video, it is a complicated process. I've been doing this for 5 years, and I had no success until recently, and I found that the support and the resistance was the biggest component of why I started doing better. In terms of price action, that's more of like a one-on-one thing. I do have a free Discord that I post all my content on, and yeah, you're definitely gonna learn something there, especially with what I post. And I'm not limited to only just futures. I do look at stocks and options as well, and I have a pretty strong understanding of where exactly a trend is supposed to be at, and the whole idea behind accumulation and distribution. Um, and yeah, I don't follow any of the ICT concepts or anything like that. I know it's a very nice structure, and I do believe a lot of people can make better use of it. But for me, like, I follow price action as well as support and resistance, and that's been working for me flawlessly. And I don't have to really consider ICT, because the market is like, it's got limitless a limitless potential, and anything could happen in the market. And of course, as a disclaimer, none of this is like financial advice either. So just a heads up, like, I'm not like a financial advisor. I'm just a trader, and I do this purely for entertainment. And yeah. Anyways, I hope you all learn something from this video. And if you like it, feel free to subscribe. Follow me on Discord by just joining in the link below. And if you're interested in doing some Apex Trader funding, just join the Apex Trader funding using my link just down below. And yeah, I'll appreciate that. Thanks for your time, everybody, and have a great day.